send that DM. And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show. It is Thursday, July 27th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We're brought to you by Sleeper, and we don't really have a slate today. 3-game main slate tonight. You get a doubleheader from Tigers and Angels earlier in the day, but that's it. It's light work for Thursday, and feels like this is the first time we've had this in ages. So, good riddance to baseball for today, apparently, but we're still going to break down 3 games. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, what's up?
Yeah, disappointed. Normally we get those nice, basically yesterday on Thursdays with, the 5-game early slate, like an 8-game late slate. I looked last night and was like, oh, should probably get 2 more baseball slates tomorrow. I was like, there's 3 total games.
You barely got 1.
Right.
Yeah, this is I'm happy to take the night off. It annoys me. I like having some skin in the game. I like having something to check.
Is this the best pitching slate we've had in a week?
No, it was loaded 2 days ago, wasn't it? It was 8 really good options. I think, yeah. The night you won, it was loaded, wasn't it?
It had a lot of good pitching, I guess. It was a really big slate, so I don't know. I guess it was. I thought that one kind of had normal pitching. I don't know. It seems like pitching's been shit lately.
So that was what, Tuesday night? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's Tuesday night pitchers. Snell, Burns, Pablo Lopez, Urias, Abbott. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I guess I just kind of meant in terms of everybody's good.
Well, I don't know about everybody, but yeah.
Mostly.
I mean, I'm not a Josiah Gray guy, but I get that wrong every week. So I guess we'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
You want to just get into this?
Good for Gray, good for Michaelis. Not the word I would use, but you have 6 pitchers and it's Steele, Cease, Bybee, and Senga.
What was the Guardians pitcher?
Bybee?
Nah, I'm not sure I know who that is. All right, let's just do it. Let's get it out of the way. Guys, hit that like button if you haven't done it already. I get it. Not a lot of people in the door so far today. Not a lot of people liking the 3-game slates, but that's okay. This is where the edge really is. Mets and Nats, 5.2 run implied total for the Mets, 4 for the Nats. Kodai Senga going for New York. Josiah Gray, as already mentioned, going for the Nats. 67% ownership coming into Senga at 9K. And, well, that seems like the right amount because I think the Nats are probably the worst offense on the slate. And Senga is not a bad pitcher in any way. So I've got a lot of them.
Yeah, agreed. It feels weird because it seems like every slate this year, Senga's been the high upside contrarian play that's really hard to get to because he's priced up in a range where pitchers around him are better, but obviously not the case today. 29.7% K percentage, 3.7 xFIP this year. Walk rate's a little bit high, and it's not a great strikeout matchup against Washington, but those are not big enough concerns that you're not going to be looking to him here against the Nats. Looks like a great play, and the salary happened to have come down. This is, I think, one of the cheapest price points we've had on Senga this year as well.
Yeah, very easy to get to. Best spot. I don't love this as a strikeout matchup, but it's a 3-game slate. You're going to have to make some concessions. And I also don't think that that's a huge deal in that case either.
Yeah. Are you surprised, obviously getting a little bit ahead, but are you surprised 9K Senga is getting so much more ownership than 8K Cease?
Not really, I guess, because I didn't get it.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably a strikeout thing, I guess. But it's not like Senga's matchup is great, but
I've got Senga by 3.5 fantasy points, so I'm not shocked that it's happening. But when you just look at the names and the salaries and what's happening, I wouldn't be surprised if it went up a little bit, or at least narrowed a little bit.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It strikes me. So we also have Senga 2.5 points ahead of Cease. It strikes me as a spot where in 2018, if I was doing this show, I would be harping on how Cease has the same ceiling as Senga and he's getting 2/3 the ownership and he's a great play, blah, blah, blah. And now that everything I do is so much more data driven, I probably won't get more Cease than Senga, but it's still just at first glance, it strikes me as that spot. It doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah. Now we need to talk Josiah Gray because this is where it starts to get interesting. This is a 3-game slate. He's 6,600. We're in a pitcher's park. The Mets are good, but he is, for all intents and purposes, unowned today. And that seems aggressive. I think he should be pulling significantly more ownership.
Yeah. So there's 18% combined ownership going to Josiah Gray and Michaelis as the sub 7K pitchers. We have Gray with a higher top 2 pitcher percentage than Michaelis. So that right there stands out. But also, Tanner Bybee is $600 more. He's the preferred option of those three, I think, without question. But he's getting 50% ownership. It does just seem like Gray is going a little bit overlooked. Not that you need to jam him in or anything, but that, playing 15% might be a good idea, something like that. Yeah. We do have him projected ahead of Michaelis. We have him 3 points behind Bybee. But so it's kind of like a similar gap. The gap between Gray and Bybee is similar to in projection, is similar to the gap between Cease and Senga. But, as we kind of just talked about Senga and Cease, Senga's getting like 1.5 times the ownership. Bybee's getting like 9. Yeah. It seems aggressive.
I mean, I just look at 25% top 2 pitcher odds, 6% ownership. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, right. If he's the second highest scoring pitcher today at 6,600, like you'd be happy to have him everywhere.
Right. And to clarify, it's not a good matchup. I think Sean just mentioned it in chat, wind blowing out 91 degrees, like not good pitching weather, but Josiah Gray has made improvements this year as far as preventing runs. He doesn't give you the same strikeout upside that he did in the past, but so far this season, he's held lefties to a 168 expected ISO with a 21.5% K percentage. Those numbers aren't great or anything by any stretch, but last year his strikeout percentage against lefties was 2 points higher. His expected ISO was 100 points higher. He's throwing a cutter now that he didn't have last year. He's been a more effective pitcher in terms of preventing runs. He's only striking righties out about 19% of the time, but he's held them to a 149 expected ISO. Last year, similar power numbers, did have a strikeout percentage 5 points higher. So would kind of like him to just like go back to doing whatever he was doing against righties last year and then keep doing what he's been doing to lefties. But the point here is that it's a 3-game slate. This pitcher isn't bad, and he's just not getting any ownership.
I just don't get it. I have a feeling that we're going to see this ownership change later today, and Josiah Gray's at like 12. Because right now, it just does, like these things you don't normally see a 25% top 2 pitcher at 6% ownership. That gap is too big, and I think it's going to move later today. I think it has to.
That's kind of my thought too. Just like everything would make more sense to me if like Michaelis is 12% holds, Gray moves to like 12%. Bybee drops to like 40.
Yeah.
Something like
Agreed.
that.
Yeah, I agree. So keep your eye on that, guys. Because if Josiah Gray really is 6% owned, I think that's the most interesting way to be like more unique on today's slate. I don't think you'll find an easier way to lose ownership on a 3-game slate than you will by taking Josiah Gray. It's not going to feel good most times, but it'll work. Let's talk bats. Number 1 in top stack, number 1 in top value, number 1 in ownership, number 1 in stack score. That would be the New York Mets. Against the man that I just advocated for, but are the Mets very clearly the top stack to you? Because it seems like they're the top stack to me.
Yeah. This is, it's a 3-game slate. And obviously this happens on bigger slates too. We just did it yesterday talking about the White Sox or the Cubs and Lance Lynn, but they look very good. It is good hitting weather. All of the concerns we just brought up regarding Josiah Gray, good offense, good bats. They're not very expensive. Peter Alonso on DraftKings is 5,500. Brandon Nimmo is 4,800. Lindor is 5,200. Other than that, though, nobody's above the $3,800 price tag on Francisco Alvarez. So they're cheap. They have power. It is good hitting conditions in Citi Field. They do look good.
Yeah,
we have them first in top stack percentage, but also not really going over owned when you consider the value. They're first in value. They're first in top stack percentage, 26% ownership, 24 stack score. They look good. It strikes me as a spot where you could very easily. It's how I viewed yesterday's early slate with Cleveland, where they were the most popular team, but I played a ton of them because it just shook out where it looked like they were correctly owned and like the lower owned teams were over owned or correctly owned. So it just kind of, sort of like a circle, like it cycled back to like, okay, if everybody's going to be correctly owned, let's just play the best players.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add here for the Mets other than sort of basically the arguments that we gave for Josiah Gray before. But they're, to me, very clearly the top team. I have no problem getting to the Mets. I think I feel the same way about Nats bats that I do about Josiah Gray. To me, they're underrepresented for this 3-game slate. They're 6th in top stack, 4th in top value, but they're 6th in ownership at 7%. We have them as the top stack 13% of the time. Is the path to winning money today, if you could play this slate over and over again, just playing everything from the Nats?
Probably, in the sense that, like we talked about yesterday with, I think, with the Mets against Rodon was the example we used yesterday. There was another one too. Maybe, I think Texas actually. Yeah, Texas was the other example we used against Alvarez, where it's not likely to work out. And obviously, this is completely different than talking about the Rangers against Alvarez. But it's the same kind of thing where, this isn't, in that case, this is an elite pitcher against a very, very good offense. Here, it's a good pitcher against a not very good offense, but it still holds true where it's not going to work out that much or that often. But when it does, your payout distribution when the Nats work is just skewed much higher than when a team like the Mets works. Because when a team like the Mets works, even though, again, like I think they're the best stack today, when the Mets come through, you are still competing with 25% of the field for the available money. And you're not really, and Josiah Gray right now getting 6% ownership. It's not like you're even removing other parts of the field. When the Nats come through, you're only competing with 6% of the field in terms of stacks. And on top of that, you're killing off a lot of the other stacks because 67% of the field has Senga. So it's just a very clear path to the top, the small percentage of the time that it works out.
Who stands out to you for the Nats today against Senga?
I mean, nobody. Like it's not. Senga's not one of those guys where you're looking at anything drastic. Anything looks great from a split standpoint. He has given up a lot more power to righties than lefties, but he's still only given up a 163 expected ISO, 313 expected WOBA to righties. It's just the lefties have a sub 100 expected ISO, 281 expected WOBA. Strikeout percentage against righty or lefties is 31.5%, 27.5% to righties. So he's been very good against righties. He's been worse against lefties. I mean, if you want to go that route, then you're looking at Lane Thomas and Joey Meneses. Everybody else probably will be left-handed except for Alex Call batting ninth. But from a just like who are the best plays here, kind of not looking at what Senga does, you're looking at Abrams and Ruiz, shortstop, catcher, because those are just difficult positions to fill.
Yeah, I have these guys so dramatically underowned across the board, other than like even Abrams at 11% feels low in this spot for what we're getting. So I don't like saying it, but man, oh man, I feel like the Nats, whether it's Josiah Gray or the Bats, are the path to victory here. So they are absolutely going to get shut out, and the Mets are going to hang 10, and it's going to be just a $0 back type night. I can see it already. Oh, I didn't realize the White Sox and Guardians started at 8. All of these 3 games are all like, we're going to have lineups very early. Playing this slate is actually easier than I thought it was going to be. I can kind of do this blindly on the run. Although I did build all of my lineups yesterday in parking lots. So seems like no reason I can't do that again today. Worked on the early, at least. Certainly didn't work on the late. Okay. Since it is a 3-game slate, I do want to touch on this piece of everything first. How do you approach stacking against pitchers?
Usually max 1 hitter.
Okay.
There was a slate the other day where it was the Tyler Glasnow slate against Baltimore. I went max 1 for every team except Baltimore. I went max 2.
Obviously. Right.
But that was a spot where like Glasnow was far and away the number 1 pitcher on the slate. And so it was a slate where it was very conceivable that Glasnow could give up, a couple home runs, score 18 points, and be the best pitcher. Yeah. And he also somebody that struggles with holding runners. So you had the possibility that like Gunnar Henderson steals 2 bases, doesn't even score a run, and is a good play. Sure. So that was a spot where I went ahead and went to 2, but generally I go 1. Earlier in the year, I'd been doing 2, and it was just, I was going through lineups one day to late swap and just noticing how often I had 2 hitters against my pitcher. And at least one of them could have just been a very, very similarly projected hitter that wasn't facing my pitcher. And I was like, okay, even on a 3-game slate, if that's the case, like I still obviously would prefer to not have hitters against my pitcher.
All righty, game 1 down, schedule for the rest of the day. Pretty easy. Deeper dive at 5. MLB Live before lock at 6. Plenty of VODs, whether that's at the Stochastic channel or at Odds Shopper. So if you're looking for more content, it will exist today. But live shows are pretty limited for today. We also got to talk a little bit about lineup generator. I think it's perfect for slates like this. I think it's perfect for every slate. But if you're looking to get a little bit better at DFS, I think the lineup generator is the first way to do that. And I think it's the cheapest way to do it. 50% off for your first week. It's going to cost you less than $5. You're going to be able, like, here's how it works. We'll give you the long and short of it. We generate thousands of lineups on the back end, and then we get rid of everything that we think stinks. We present the rest of them to you. You can pick chalky lineups, contrarian lineups, balanced lineups. You can pick however you want those lineups to be stacked. You could swap players around if you want. You're going to get projections and optimal rates, ownership. Click save if you like the lineup. Click discard if you don't. When you click discard, another one will just pop right up in front of you, and you can keep going on through your process. Export up to 20 via CSV. This is just going to be a way to build better lineups and save you time using all of the tools that exist at Stochastic. So 50% off, less than $5 for your first week. We go to the Cardinals and the Cubs. 4.4 run implied total for the Cards, 4.6 for the Cubs. Miles Mikolas and Justin Steele going here. 12% ownership going to Mikolas, 23% ownership going to Steele. I feel like I should start with Steele, but I prefer, I think, to talk about Mikolas. Is Mikolas just a better version of Josiah Gray today?
We have him projected as a worse version, getting more ownership.
Ooh, interesting. I have Mikolas by 2 points. So I guess ignore what I just asked you and talk to me about Justin Steele.
I mean, I think the Mikolas thing is reasonable. Like, the strikeout stuff for Gray is down. Mikolas isn't a great strikeout pitcher either, but we do have a longer track record of Mikolas being able to limit power and get outs. It's not a terrible matchup against the Cubs, but I think that they're very similar. Steele's really good. It's not a great matchup against the Cards. Not a ton of strikeouts, plenty of good right-handed power, but or power in general. But Steele's a solid pitcher. He's 8,600. Righties this year have a sub 100 expected ISO and a 276 expected WOBA against him. Only a 22% K percentage. Lefties striking out about 25.5% of the time. They have hit for more power with a 179 expected ISO. I think the reason Steele's not getting more ownership is that he is $600 more than Cease and only 400 less than Senga. And while Steele's been very good at preventing runs, 3.69 xFIP, 2.95 ERA, 22.7% K percentage compared to 28 and 29.7% from a DFS standpoint is going to make it difficult to get to Steele at that price compared to the other two guys, especially when you consider it's not like he has an above average matchup or anything.
Ospra, it will not be 102 degrees during this game. This game is at 7:45 or 6:45 or whatever time zone that is. It's going to be hot as shit, but holy shit, 102.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? How is that, Paul? At 8 o'clock?
That's insane. Like, I mean, I was
my apologies.
Summers in St. Louis are miserable, but that is aggressively miserable.
If this would have been Arizona, I'd have been like, okay.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Arizona would be like 110.
But just like, if it were a day game,
That's Arizona at like 6 in the morning.
Okay. My apologies, boss, bro. That just sounded like a completely ridiculous statement.
What is it during the day today?
I don't even. Too hot? I mean, what's the heat index?
Right. Right now it's 87.
Is God shining a magnifying glass in St. Louis today? What is happening here? Are you looking up the weather? Because you're bad at it if you are.
I was trying to get it by time and haven't gotten it.
I'm on it.
Okay.
You're terrible at this.
Usually I use my phone. I don't know why I didn't know.
Heat index at the high heat index today is 108. That's going to be at 4 p.m. It'll still be over 100 in the heat index when you get to first pitch.
The iPhone app has it at 94 at 8 p.m.
102 heat index at that point.
Okay.
Sounds fun. Enjoy that, guys. Maybe not a great reason to get to pitching in this one, but all right. So you touched on Steele. Obviously, we have Mikolas a little bit lower, and maybe we see that change a little bit. But I find him to be very interesting just because of his general depth in games. I think it's a decent strikeout matchup against the Cubs. I don't think the Cubs' offense is all that different than Washington. Lefty power dies in St. Louis, 77 park factor for lefty power. So you're getting the righty Mikolas against some lefties that really aren't that scary for me. I think this is a sneaky spot for Michaelis if he's 12% owned. I like him more than I like Josiah Gray.
Yeah, I think they're comparable. I kind of just like whichever one's lower owned. But I mean, you do have a 4.4 implied run total for the Cubs compared to 5.3 for the Mets. That does say something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think end of the day, I probably end up preferring Michaelis, but if there is a big ownership gap, I have no problem turning him into Gray.
And if it's just what it is now, 12-6, like I don't give a shit about that gap at all,
Sure.
given we're going to have, three guys at 40 plus. Anything in that sub 15 range, I think I'm more likely to get to Michaelis. That's how it's playing out for me today. I'm actually not really getting to Justin Steele, which scares me a little bit, but there are pretty obvious reasons why that's happening. Let's talk bats here. Cubs are second in ownership. Cardinals are third. We have the Cubs with a better top stack odds, but we have them as the worst value stacks, which I think is a little interesting, but their pricing is wild today based on their current lineup. Which team do you think you prefer?
Probably the Cubs.
Okay.
They're second in stack score, 19% chance of being the top stack, 22% ownership. Cardinals, 15% chance of being the top stack, 18% ownership. I just definitely prefer targeting against Michaelis compared to Steele. And it's not like you're getting a huge ownership difference. The Cards are cheap outside of Goldschmidt, Arenado. The Cubs are cheap outside of Bellinger, Horner, Morel, Swanson. So like there is value to get from both sides. Cardinals overall are cheaper. I'd probably get the Cubs first, but I think they're both similar plays.
Yeah. I'm getting to the Cardinals, but I don't think that's all that surprising. If I'm not getting to Steele and it's a 3-game slate, you kind of just get to the opposite side of that stuff by default. It's hard to just like miss on a game completely. But
by
with
the way,
the lefty
this
Steele,
was the perfect example for your stadium situation yesterday, where it's a corporate sponsor, but it's a local corporate sponsor. So like there's reason to be upset if Busch Stadium turns into like not Busch Stadium.
Yeah, some generic insurance company or something. Yeah, exactly. It's Busch. It's always Busch.
Right.
8 righties in the projected lineup against the lefty Steele. Not that that's like a good thing. Steele gives up more power to lefties than he does to righties, at least this year. But you always would prefer a right. Generally speaking, you would always prefer a righty against a lefty, and at least righty power in St. Louis is 95 park factor, helpful a little bit. It's not fun to go up against Justin Steele, but I think that I prefer the Cardinals side of this one to the Cubs side. That said, the Cubs against Michaelis, like Michaelis isn't what he was 3 years ago at this point. Right. He's sort of getting touched up a little bit more. The only real problem for the Cubs is just, $5,300 Herner, $5,600 Bellinger, $5,400 Morel. Those are prices that like probably shouldn't be going to those 3 names.
Yeah, that price tag jump on Bellinger is huge. He homered again yesterday. It actually wasn't off Lynn. It was off Middleton. But I talked about it on Twitter, and some people got upset because, again, people get upset when you just literally use numbers with no opinion.
People don't like the truth.
They disagree with the numbers. But like Bellinger, I'm a big Bellinger fan in general. I want him to do well. He actually has not been very good this year against right-handed pitching. Like his numbers are fine. His underlying numbers suck. 199 actual ISO, 349 actual WOBA, and 195 plate appearances against righties. 312 expected WOBA, 147 expected ISO. The truth may be somewhere in the middle. Like he doesn't have to come all the way back down to those expected numbers, but none of those numbers are a $5,600 hitter.
No, not at all. Not at all. And like, there's absolutely no reason that Nico Herner should be 5,300 unless they give him eligibility at every position.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say that. I mean, at least Christopher Morel has the power as like his backbone, but 5,400 for him is also not correct. At least not to me. So that's the only thing that's like slowing me down for the Cubs, I think.
Ian Happ's actual numbers this season are better than Cody Bellinger's expected numbers. And like the narrative around these two is that Ian Happ is a massive disappointment. Cody Bellinger has reemerged as like a great player.
I hope he did, but I'm not so sure that's true. Anything else you want to touch on for this game? Let's circle back to Mets Nats rank the game.
Senga, Mets, Nats, Gray.
And then obviously you know where we're going with this.
Yeah. Cubs or Cards, and the other one. Then I guess Steele and then Michaelis. But I think the Cubs Cards game is just a lot more like interchangeable.
I agree. Sleeper is the sponsor of today's show. Very easy to sign up there. You click a link in the description of this video. You are going to get up to $100 on your first deposit. We talk a lot about these pick'em sites. This is just another one where you could build up a little bit of a bankroll. And they operate slightly differently because, one, you can get payouts up to 100x. That's the highest of any of these pick'em sites. And they've got dynamic payouts. So it's not just simply the same action on both sides. You might take an over that pays at 2x or 3x or 4x potentially. And that's how you could really make these payouts climb. OddsShopper Pick'em and some of the other tools that exist at Stochastic can certainly help you out more if you're playing at Sleeper. Minimum deposit's going to be $20, but I'm hoping you'll put in 100 and match that and get another 100. Really get yourself started off on the right foot. They run plenty of free squares and bonuses as well, so you can really augment everything you're doing with even better chances to win. Sign up everywhere, guys. That's what my goal is to tell you right now. You're going to hear me talk about Sleeper, and you're going to hear me talk about other places. Hit them all. Get the bonus money. Build yourself a bankroll. Figure it out after that. But for today, we're talking Sleeper because they're the awesome team, awesome site that we need to talk about on a Thursday. Oh, boy. Sean V talking about how Josiah Gray was good the last time out. So I've changed all of my thoughts. Apparently. Yeah, good. So are a lot of people. There's more people in New York than anywhere else.
Is that true?
In the United States.
I figured California had it.
I mean, New York, the city.
Yeah, but California has San Francisco and then other big cities.
I'm not naming the state. I'm naming the city.
Oh, okay, got it. I thought you were saying New York City is the reason New York State has so many people. Okay.
No, I don't think that Buffalo offsets San Francisco in this scenanerio.
Yeah, I was just saying
New York City, the city.
Yeah, I'll take like San Diego versus Buffalo, and
yeah.
I
don't think that Albany suddenly has 10 million people in it. I'm running a Rochester. I'm running out of.
Yeah, well, this is why I was so confident that you were wrong.
Yeah, well, I forget what town Turning Stone is in, but
it's
there too,
right outside Syracuse. I don't know.
Yeah, I've gone enough, but I don't remember most of it. So Verona, New York. Yeah, I wouldn't have got that if you gave me 1,000 guesses, and no chance. I need to go back there one last time.
I only actually went once. I went, had a great time, made good money for my position at the time. Immediately considered moving there. Didn't do it, obviously, and never ended up going back.
It would be hilarious to find, like, if we could just, I think about this kind of shit a lot. I'd love to have like GPS coordinates of us our entire lives, and we find out randomly that you and I were at Turning Stone Casino the same day, never knew, or like you're on the opposite side of the table and I don't know, like dumb shit like that. Because we went a bunch.
Yeah. The best part of Turning Stone, so like we were playing, like I was there with a couple friends, we're playing 1-2, and this guy shows up. He's waiting for like the 5-10 table to open or something, and so he sits down, and me and him just start like going back and forth, just like I'm bluffing constantly, like playing super aggressive. There's this probably like 65-year-old, like I don't remember if it was even a woman or a guy, but it was definitely a 65-year-old person across from me. And I like 3-bet pre-flop, and like I think I end up just like playing aggressive every street, have absolutely nothing. Finally get him to fold like this massive pot, and I show him that I had like 8 high. And the 65-year-old person across from me is like, I can't play at these tables. These young kids don't care about their money enough.
I had the opposite experience. I was firing away with the goods right out of the gate. First hand that I sat down, jacks, queens, something like that. Like I'm tapping out one particular person. They're calling the whole way. Flop is garbage. Turn is garbage. River is garbage. Like I'm feeling like I've got a decent hand. I don't know what this guy could have possibly made, and he made a like 9s full of 3s on the turn and river to beat me. And I was just like, okay, well, I certainly didn't put you on that when you called my massive pre-flop raise. Yeah,
so that's probably within like 2 orbits after the can't play with these kids. I'm in a hand with that person, and I have like an under pair to the board, and I'm just like, again, just going nuts, firing everything, and I boat on the river and then get there. I legitimately felt bad just like winning this massive pot against this person.
And then the next trip that I was there, I didn't have enough money to pay the toll to leave.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. I had $5 left and I put it down on, some sort of table game to be like, all right, we got to get this bad boy to 10. That's a gallon of gas in the toll. We're going to be great. Didn't hit it. If it was black, it needed to be red or vice versa. Whatever I played, it didn't work out. And I stepped on ice outside. I didn't fall, but the ice cracked and my foot went into the puddle. So it soaked my shoe too. I was like,
rough
what
trip.
a terrible day. Yeah, it was not good. It's not good. White Sox and Guardians. Let's close this out. 4.2 run implied total on both sides. Dylan Cease, who you and I talked about it, that I get these guys confused in my mind. I started doing my contenders video this morning, said Dylan Cease's name and was like, shit, he got traded. None of this information is right. And I was like, it wasn't Dylan Cease.
Also, I do not know what the Angels are doing.
Neither do I. Tanner Babi on the opposite side here for the Guardians. Which pitcher do you prefer?
Cease.
Okay. Talk to me about Dylan Cease, 8K going up against Cleveland. Very difficult strikeout matchup.
Yeah, very difficult strikeout matchup. It's still it's kind of surprising to me that he's getting less ownership than Bibee. Since he's only $800 more, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference in terms of what your lineups look like. 28% K percentage, 3.95 xFIP. Bibee's been good this year too, 24.5% K percentage, 4.3 xFIP. But wherever you can find that salary, I prefer getting to Cease. It is a difficult strikeout matchup, like you said, but we still haven't projected nearly a point higher than Bibee. So at lower ownership, it really just comes down to like when I can find that salary. I'd rather get there. But Bibee does look good as well. Like I said, having a good year. The White Sox are a good matchup. Most of the offenses we've talked about today either don't strike out or they're above average offenses. White Sox active roster against right-handed pitching this year, 11th highest strikeout percentage at 23.3%, 89 WRC plus. It's not a good park to pitch in, but it's the coolest game on the slate. It's the offense with the best combination of strikeouts and lack of ability to hit on the slate. So I do get why I think Bibee's a good play. I get why there's ownership coming in there, but I just prefer Cease by a little bit.
Yeah, it shouldn't surprise you guys the way that I talked about Gray and the way that I talked about Michaelis, that Babi is not a guy that I'm getting to at 50% ownership today. He's the guy that I'm pretty easily coming in light on. If ownership starts to move around, that could very easily change. I don't see those guys as so aggressively different that the ownership should look like it does. And I think you and I have probably hashed that out enough at this point. Anything else you want to add for either pitcher?
Don't know what the Guardians lineup will be, obviously, but it will not have Ahmed Rosario. He's now a Dodger.
Yes.
That's not it's not a huge deal, but I assume whoever's replacing him isn't as good as him. Not that he's great or anything.
Yeah, I forgot that deal went down yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, this year against right-handed pitching, he has a 272 WOBA and a sub 100 ISO. I don't think you're getting any massive difference here. He does only have a 20.5% strikeout percentage, so potentially some sort of strikeout upgrade, depending who it is.
All right, let's talk bats.
I'm looking at the projected lineup I'm looking at. I can't figure out who would even be playing shortstop. So
the projected lineup I have in does not have anybody eligible at shortstop.
Yeah, nobody is eligible at shortstop, but I don't even know who plays shortstop. Juan, Jimenez, Ramirez. It's definitely not Juan. It could technically, I guess, be Jimenez or Ramirez. Naylor, it's not Naylor. It's not Josh Bell. It's not Will Brennan. It's not Bo Naylor. It's not Miles Straw. I guess it's Arias.
Gotta be, right?
I guess I was unaware he played shortstop. Fangraphs has him listed as a first baseman. 2023 games played, 26 at first, 19 in right, 16 at short, 11 at third. So yeah, I guess it's him. And for what it's worth, 166 plate appearances this year, 31.9% K percentage. So again, a strikeout bat in place of Rosario.
Who got traded?
Ahmed Rosario.
Okay, I thought so. I mean, last year, 130 innings for Jimenez at short. 2021, 322 innings at short.
For who?
Jimenez.
Who's Jimenez? Oh, Andres.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but then the follow-up question is which one of these guys is playing second base?
Oh, I don't know, but I'm just saying, there's at least that's another option of a guy that has showed up at shortstop in a Major League Baseball game in the last calendar year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have more answers, but I'm assuming that Arias guy could move to second potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I assume somebody said it could be Freeman too. Yeah, definitely could be Freeman. He just wasn't in the projected lineup I was looking at. Point here being, if Arias is in the lineup, that is an actual strikeout guy. What?
Oh man, what is this from? So I just got to, this person must be watching the show, or if not, kudos. This is going to be great. So Bomber DFS just followed me on Twitter and sent me a screenshot of a Sean V message from Discord from April of this year. And he said, enjoy. The message just simply says, haven't had sex in like 2 years with wife. Go look at my Twitter.
That's fucked up. Like, why are you?
Where did that come from? Whose Discord is that? And why would you say that out loud?
Yeah, I was saying I don't really get in Discords, but I want to invite to this one.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh man. I assume it's because like he used their last experience and she wasn't very good, so he just shut it down.
He
She wasn't good. Yeah. Oh no, she didn't get there the last time, so we stopped for the last 2 years. Can't assume that it's going to get any better.
They haven't been in their home state for a while where he performs best.
Yeah, he doesn't do it on the road. Not a hotel guy. Oh man, thanks to Bomber DFS for that. I don't know why you brought that to my attention, and I don't know why you clipped that from months ago, but kudos. Which bats do you prefer here? White Sox are fifth in top stack. Guardians are third.
I have a lot of questions. Why that was ever said, why it was clipped from months ago, why it was given to you, why it was mentioned on this show. I don't understand any of it.
Oh, I do know why it was mentioned on the show.
I guess I do understand that part, but yeah. What were we talking about?
Bats. Pick the team that you prefer, because I have all of this game from a hitting perspective.
Do you really?
Yeah, 50 White Sox stacks and 37 Guardian stacks.
I guess I prefer the White Sox side just because Biden isn't quite as good as Cease, and he's getting a little bit more ownership. I think this is a game, though, where I have a very difficult time liking the hitters, but I do think it's a good idea to be getting to this game like you are, just because, you know, both pitchers are getting so much ownership. If one of these offenses goes off, you're competing with half the field immediately right out of the gate. We've had a lot of games like this. Yesterday it was Lynn and the Cubs. Previously, like on the early slate, it was the Mariners and Twins. On every other slate recently, it's been the Mariners and Twins. Where like this game, you almost like have to have stuff from this game. It's two of the best pitching options, and if those pitching options fail, it's two relatively inexpensive offenses on a 3-game slate.
I have an absolute ton of this one. And look, I'm half the field on Cease. I'm less than half the field on Tanner Babi. Like, it's just that this is, no matter what you do on a slate like today, you are going to have a stand on something that looks weird, and you're going to be under on something that is also very popular. Like, that's just inevitably how you're going to get there. This seems like the game where I'm flipping it on its head. I'm taking the hitting and I'm not taking the pitching. Right.
And just for context, or like an example, I guess, on yesterday's night slate, it was 3 games. I aggressively went to the Rangers against Framber Valdez just because that was a clear path to winning the tournament. If you're like, if that's what was showing up for me yesterday, I'm clearly not going to have a problem getting against a 50% owned Biden or a 42% owned Cease or a 67% owned Senga with, relatively low owned opposing stacks.
I'm a moron. Whatever. Everybody knows I'm a moron. Rank the game.
Cease, Bybee, White Sox, Guardians. The offensive part is tough. I mean, the pitching part's tough because they are comparable. The offense part is tough because like Jose Ramirez is clearly the best play in the game.
Yeah,
offensively, best hitter in the game. But they're also, as a team, getting more ownership. They're facing the better pitcher. I like the lack of ownership coming into the White Sox at 10% aggregate.
You and me both. They're my most exposed team right now. Weird slate. I kind of like it. Like, there are a lot of pivot points here. There are a lot of very distinctly, like, I can see the spots where I would like to be on the opposite side of the field. I like it. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Well, guys, thank you to Jordan Klein for being the producer behind the virtual glass. Thank you to Sleeper for being the sponsor of this show. Adam will be back later today for the deeper dive. I will not. So you'll get Laffy later today. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. Check out all of our content. Check out Adam's article. Check out his Sims tool video, which will be out later today. It's going to be a good time, folks. Enjoy your Thursday. We'll talk to you later.